Hi, this is Beto Paredes with Marketplace Masters with incredible opportunity today. I have a chance to talk with Steve Maher. He is one of our speakers coming up at our show in September. Cannot miss this opportunity to learn some incredible information. I can tell you you're not going to find this at any of the other shows. And we did what we could to bring him on board because of his background. He's a man that has worked with some of the top Fortune 500 inside and outside of the automotive industry for the last 20 years. He is an expert in customer experience management, which is something that is just so critical and important for all of our dealerships, really for everyone that's running a business that has any magnitude at all that really needs to analyze that data properly. Steve, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here with us. I know it's close to the holidays, and it's a sacrifice to be able to pull away from family to do something with us here at Marketplace Master. So I appreciate you taking the time to do so.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Very, very excited.
Very good. Okay, well, Steve, let's get into this. There's a lot of good information I know you have to share now, and really for those of you coming to our show to soak in what it is that you may learn in his actual talk. We're looking forward to having you with us, Steve. Tell me a little bit about your background, Steve. I know some. What got you interested in customer experience management, and where have you been the last 20 years?
Well, I've spent the last 20 years working in technology and specifically enterprise software. I started my first company in the mid-90s during the early days of the internet. This is when we were building and hosting websites for mom and pop shops. So after I successfully sold that business, I was fortunate enough to lead some of the largest technology projects in the world, including building wallstreetjournal.com, which at the time was the largest paid site. And I still had this entrepreneurial bug that forced me into founding several other technology companies that I eventually sold for over $300 million. And I was really intrigued by large enterprise businesses. So after the sale of my companies, I took an executive position at CA Technologies, which is a multi-billion Fortune 500 software company. I stayed there for over 10 years in leadership positions in sales and services across North America, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. While I was at CA, I became very passionate about customer experience. I led a huge sales organization responsible for hundreds of millions in revenue every year. I realized that by listening to the voice of my customers, not only could I increase my share of wallet, but I could reduce my cost of sale. So 2 years ago, I left CA to run worldwide solution sales for Medallia, a pre-IPO software company that's the world's leader in customer experience management. I get to work with some of the most amazing companies and business leaders in the world.
Well, that is quite a bit of experience. So not only have you been in the forefront of customer experience management software development, working with some very prestigious companies from what I understand, you actually have a very strong background in technology that we find very important here at Marketplace Masters as far as the delivery to the dealers when our show comes up. So that's one of the biggest reasons, obviously, Steve, we wanted to have you involved. Thank you again for being here. Tell me more about Medallia and the type of OEM dealer groups and other customers that you work with in the automotive industry and abroad.
Absolutely. First, let me tell you a little bit about Medallia. So we are a software company that was founded 15 years ago by a husband and wife who are still our president and CEO. Our founders both worked for Boston Consulting Group, one of the world's premier management consulting companies. Their job was flying around the country helping companies run their businesses better. This meant they stayed at a lot of hotels and were generally frustrated that at the time these hotels didn't pay any attention to what their customers were saying, both good and bad. So they decided to leave Boston Consulting Group and started their own company, creating a solution that was purpose-built for operationalizing customer experience. So first for hospitality companies, and then expanding the solution to auto, retail, B2B, telco, and financial services. Our customers now include over 500 of the top brands in the world, including many of the large autos. In mid-2012, about 4.5 years ago, after lots of courting by Doug Leone, who is a billionaire partner at Sequoia Capital, Sequoia actually invested in Medallia to help hyper-accelerate our growth in product and sales. Some of Sequoia's other investments include Apple and Google and Oracle, Facebook, WhatsApp. However, Medallia is actually their single largest investment, having received over $250 million in funding so far. So what exactly do we do? Over the years, we've partnered with some of the top brands across every industry. and built a proven, effective model and approach that, along with our technology, ensures companies can transform their business by paying attention to the voice of the customer. We've taken this approach and created purpose-built technology to capture and collect customer feedback from all customers' channels and touchpoints across a variety of modalities like web, SMS, and mobile. We integrate that customer feedback data with other customer data like operational and financial data, organizational information, and ultimately produce role-based alerts, dashboards, escalations, and reports for everyone in the organization. All this happens in real time with a bias for action, meaning the front line at dealerships, for example, all the way to corporate OEM execs are engaged to improve customer experience, both daily interactions as well as the long-term strategic view.
You could say that what you do at Medallia, besides obviously give them incredible metrics on their customers' experience, is really give them the pulse of what's working with their customer base so that they can get return customers, so that they can help obviously develop more of a network of customers that are also bringing, like for a dealership, referrals are such a big thing for them to continue to grow as a company. And one of the things I tell everyone is no matter how much of the automotive industry is present online, they are still a backyard company. They're still someone that you would expect to be getting involved in your high schools and in your chamber of commerce. They're looked at as a local company. They, in fact, in a lot of ways, they're the most local. And local business relies tremendously, no matter what level you're at. You were mentioning earlier when we were talking that this software breaks all the way down into the individual dealerships if you are working, let's say, with a large dealership group, and that they use these metrics on a local level. And in my opinion, in the opinion of the rest of everybody here at Marketplace Master, getting that information to the dealer to make better decisions on how to engage their customers basically determines whether that business stays or goes, whether it thrives or doesn't. And I think that that's critical, the kind of work that you guys are doing. What kind of return does a company get from the knowledge that you can help offer them when they act upon the applied methods that you guys teach?
Let me give you some examples of how we've helped some other companies. So earlier this year, the CEO of one of the U.S.'s largest insurance companies spoke at our customer conference. Before working with us, they had over 20% of their customers churning every year. After Medallia, we actually helped increase their customer retention by 3%, which equated to $500 million in additional revenue every year. Another example is with Mercedes. When they first started working with Medallia, they were second to last in J.D. Power. A large portion of what we helped them with was changing the dealer experience. This includes knowing what and how to innovate. For example, Mercedes rolled out their digital service drive program, which allowed payments via iPads at dealerships. In order to measure the success, they paid attention to customer feedback, not just about if this new program was used, but did it actually add value to consumers. The result, in less than a year, Mercedes moved from second to last to first in J.D. Power ranking. Another example is with one of the top 4 U.S. telcos. They engaged us to help increase their share of wallet and lower their cost of customer acquisition. How do we drive more revenue, and how can we do it more cost effectively? They recently reported their quarterly earnings after having worked with us for a year. They had the highest new customer additions in 9 years, the lowest churn, almost 1% in company history, all with year-over-year revenue growth and a reduction in operating expense. Their CEO, who logs into Medallia every day, attributes a large portion of their success to how they completely rethought customer experience with Medallia. Another great example is with Tommy Bahama. They wanted to help maintain their market-leading position. So we helped them think about innovation at the store level at scale. Their head of store operations has a perspective: if you're not continuously innovating, if you don't continuously exceed your customers' expectations, you will become irrelevant because customers have lots of choices. And more importantly, they have lots of choices locally. So we help them get instant feedback on the things that each store did to innovate, how customers perceived that innovation, and then we linked it to financial impact. So did this thing this store did actually lead to increased sales? And where we saw that it did, we helped them scale that successfully across their other stores. One of the fun examples I have is they learned that their guests really love alcohol. And when asked what they can do to improve, we're told, pour us more margaritas. So instead of stores with restaurants having, right, the only place you can get a drink is if a store has a restaurant attached, Tommy Bahama is actually looking into adding these amenity bars to their typical retail stores. They believe that it'll keep customers in stores longer, and then that'll lead to increased purchasing. So some pretty cool things.
That's fun.
It is. We also helped a $600 billion industry-leading technology company that makes phones, watches, computers, and tablets start closing the loop with customers that had horrible experiences in their retail stores. What does closing the loop mean? Well, it means that after a customer provides feedback, or after you know a customer had a certain type of experience, maybe it was good, maybe it was bad, whatever, you actually contact them and make sure that they know that you heard their feedback. And what they did is every hour spent closing the loop with customers who were the worst detractors. So these are people that had an experience at a retail location. The experience was so bad, they said, we will never do business with this company again. Just by contacting them, every hour that store manager spent doing that generated an extra $1,000 worth of business. At scale, it was tens of millions a year in increased revenue for them, not to mention the opportunity cost of protecting those customers from going somewhere else. And then finally, in financial services, we helped one of the largest mutual funds and financial services groups in the world increase their share of wallet. They said, can you help us increase our asset base? And what we helped them do is identify and act on feedback that was happening real time with their customers. So specifically relating to a negative experience trying to buy a new product, they were able to add over $5 billion in assets in 1 year. So if you think about this in relation to buying a car, imagine if you can touch the person that was in the process of buying a car, had a negative experience in your dealership before they actually went and bought a car somewhere else. You were able to know that they had that bad experience, reach out to them directly, change their mind, and bring them back in to close the deal. Those are some examples of how we can help companies move the needle.
That is highly invaluable information, and I know that dealers are always looking at their customer base with big question marks in their head. They're trying to figure out the metrics. They're trying to figure out what best they can do, and I can tell you lots of franchise OEMs will be present at our show, but we also have a lot of buy here, pay here in independents that really could just use good information and better strategy around how to deal with customer retention in general. So if you were to give a dealership a nugget of information while we're here on this interview, what would you tell them to do right now and pay attention to?
Well, great question. So it's actually 4 things. And what I found with working with some of the leading brands in the world is that they do 4 things really well consistently. And I think this applies to some of the largest companies in the world or an individual store or dealership. So the first thing is seeing yourself as your customers do. So not just at an individual touch point, but across the entire customer journey and from your customer's perspective. A customer's experience with Toyota or a specific dealership, for example, is not just the sales, service, or dealership experience. It includes all of the interactions they have. So what are the top things that I need to work on as a dealer? What can I do to prevent a problem before it happens? Is it price to value? Is it the passion of the sales staff? Is it the friendliness of the staff? Is it the overall selection? Perhaps it's as simple as providing a car wash or a shuttle service. Is it the time to complete paperwork or financing terms? What are people saying about my dealership in social media, and what can I do about it? Looking into insights into non-purchaser behavior and expectations. The second thing is wiring customers into every decision. So every decision you make must take into consideration the voice of the customer. We help capture and liberate customer feedback from organizational silos and realize significant operational improvements by sharing pain points across the entire organization. Every time a customer visits a dealership, think of how many people they interact with. Imagine if you could get real-time, meaningful, individual, and relevant feedback into the hands of each employee so they can do something different and better tomorrow than they did today in a way that isn't overwhelming or onerous. It turns out that's really hard to do. And that optimization problem is at the core of what Medallia does. We help our customers ask each of their individual customers the right couple of questions so they in aggregate get the information and feedback they need so that every colleague is learning new things every day about what they can do better. The third thing is drive accountability at all levels. So everyone, all the way from frontline sales and service, all the way to dealership management, even the OEMs, must be accountable for the customer experience. We help enable coaching and learning to the front line, including closing the loop with customers And this helps turn individual customers into raving fans. And finally, the fourth thing, innovate continuously at scale. Validate success and failure of new innovations. Understand the impact that innovation or process has on the customer's experience. For example, what are leading indicators of success, happiness, buying patterns, promoters, etc.? Medallia helps great companies leverage customer feedback to inspire action and drive business results.
Tell me, what are some of the industry stats that every dealer needs to pay attention to?
I think market research benchmarks and industry stats are very important. I also like to look at 4 things that I call the bucket analogy. So the first thing is, are you stopping the leaky bucket? Meaning, are you retaining customers and growing your share of wallet with them, or are you losing them to competitors? The second thing is, are you filling the bucket? Are you acquiring new customers at the pace that you want? Third thing is, are you building a better bucket? Meaning, are you minimizing your cost of sale? Finally, each of those bucket analogies are what I call lagging indicators. They're things that once you know them, they've already happened. So what are you doing today to get a leading indicator, something that will happen in the future, to ensure the next quarter will be better than this one?
What can dealers or others that are coming to our Marketplace Master show expect to learn from your presentation?
Lots and lots of stories. I'm a big believer in sharing learnings and best practices from other companies and industries that can help move the needle for both dealerships and other folks.
I think that's actually very invaluable. In fact, talking about the experience that other companies have had, especially when you've been as involved as you've been, and the success rates that's come from that, is not only inspiring, but a lot of times will help connect the dealers to their own customer base when they go back home and they're thinking through what they can do to improve their customer experience. So that I'm glad to know that you're bringing it from that angle. I think that's really going to be very useful during your time on stage. Do you feel that social media is giving customers a voice where they can share negative experiences that are more so heard? And is it better to solve the problem before there is one?
I actually think that this ship has already sailed. Social media is a major part of our lives and a critical component in a customer's buying decision. In fact, social media is increasingly becoming the preferred feedback channel for consumers. What makes it more difficult is the information shared on social media is largely out of the company or dealership's control. Well, the way Medallia thinks about it, we actually have a component of our solution specifically tailored to social feedback. It helps companies monitor, protect, and improve their online reputation as social reviews affect revenue. We embed social feedback into frontline action and accountability, and we also believe that helping our customers know competition better than they know themselves is very, very important, and social actually provides a great mechanism to do that. Think about 2 ways social can help you: gathering location-based social media reviews and feedback, providing them to the front line for action and accountability. So imagine your sales, your service folks, and management now can have this information at their fingertips and understand what people are saying on social media. More importantly, give them the ability to provide closed-loop action, actually respond to those customers in a meaningful way, and deep analytics on the information. And we also allow for local benchmarking, so understand how you are performing against your nearby competition. The second thing we do, and I mentioned earlier that it's largely out of your control, but there are a few things that companies can do to help manage their social reputation. And one of them is by soliciting survey respondents, so people that you've asked for feedback, to post their positive experience with you, to review sites and social media. So while you may not be able to stop all the bad feedback from being captured there, you can certainly enhance the amount of good ones and ask your customers that have had great experiences with you, please, please, please share, and make it very easy for them to do.
Steve, thank you so much for spending some time with us here. It was invaluable getting some good foundation or groundwork for what people can expect when they come to Marketplace Master and hear you speak. Everyone that is listening, dealerships, people that are related to the dealership industry, our show is very open frame. There's a lot of different professionals that really do belong in the seats while our presenters are giving their information. But I can tell you, no matter what size of dealership you have or what style of sales platform you're using in any fashion, whether it's online, offline, if you're just 100% local, buy here, pay here, or if you're a large franchise dealer, maybe you have 15 locations, you're not going to want to miss Steve's presentation, because this is all about how to retain and keep the customers you have now and understand the experience that they're having so that you can further engage them. It's 5 times more difficult to get a new customer than it is just to retain the one that you have. So Steve is going to give you incredible information on that retention as well as some other really amazing things. So Steve, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your holidays there in Dallas.
Thank you so much, Beto. You too, and have a safe and happy New Year.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Steve. Talk soon.